Arriba, arriba, we're off to Mexico via Prestwick Airport for Scotland's 4th World Cup in a row. Oh, those halcyon days.
Baby, I'm your man.
But yet that same group of players and the nation had to recover from a tragedy the previous year. A long shadow had befallen Scottish football. A legend, a lion, had passed.
Everybody was in a state of shock that this famous, indestructible figure, everybody's father, he always felt he could lean on Jock for support, should die suddenly in public at a football match.
Jock Stein has collapsed, it appears, on the trackside. He's been carried in, the Scottish doctor looking on anxiously. But for the moment, Scottish supporters celebrate.
The dressing room was stunned. It was from going from jubilation to the fact that we were going through the playoffs to then hear Alec Ferguson's word, Jock's dead. It just stunned us.
With the team devastated, the SFA Chief Executive Ernie Walker had the task of finding someone capable of raising the squad for the playoffs against Australia. He turned to Jock Stein's Scotland assistant, Alex Ferguson.
Although we were all grief-stricken, I remember very clearly speaking to Alec. I took him aside and said, would he take over from Jock? That's what subsequently happened.
Fergie was ideal choice. You know, he was Jock's choice. So Jock saw something in Fergie at that time very early on.
Souness is there, Strachan is there, and Cooper is there with a vengeance. A very, very important...
2 games stood between Scotland and Mexico. And so to help, Fergie had drafted in a young hotshot making a name for himself in England. Well, he would have, if anyone had seen him. The English League had also been hit by the television debacles.
Do you know this gentleman alongside me?
No.
If I tell you he plays for West Ham, would that help you?
Oh, Hugh McIlvenney, sports writer.
McCavey.
McAvenny.
McAvenny, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, is that good enough?
Did it surprise you to know that this is Frank McAvenny?
You have got to be joking.
McAvenny? Well, that's a hell of a mouthful, isn't it?
Keep sticking them in the back of the net. They'll get to know you.
Just to get a chance to play with these guys was awesome for me. And of course it was Fergie that done that for me. Fergie kept telling me I was the best striker in Scottish football's ever seen and all that kind of stuff. At that time it was great, played me both games. And we got to the World Cup. It sort of turned sour after that.
Sombreros and sun cream packed, it was off to Mexico. And quelle surprise, it was the group of death that awaited.
It was a lousy group to draw. We always seemed to specialise in doing that, and we always imagined in draws that England seemed to get. England would draw Millport and the Isle of Man and Springburn for their 3.
England, Lapland, Melchester Rovers, and me and my mum.
We get Germany, Denmark, and Uruguay, which, you know, another nice, quiet wee team. So it was never going to be easy.
Alec Ferguson takes his team for high-altitude training in Santa Fe.
What do you say is the biggest problem you've got to overcome if you're going to get
West Germany, Denmark and Uruguay.
The Scots move on to the City of the Gods.
The Scotland team finally arrived a day after the opening ceremony. A snub? Scotland denied it was.
Coming to the World Cup with we start on Wednesday, we don't have any injuries. We're delighted.
As the Danes got an eyeful of the Tartan army, Manager Alex Ferguson was keeping his team selection close to his chest.
There's a nice tension about it, and I think you need tension in big games.
Best of luck.
Thanks. Bye. You playing?
Don't know yet.
Anderson will run up the all right. Elkiar again is making the run, edge of the area. This is dangerous. Oh, Elkiar still in, and Elkiar scores for Denmark.
That's a chip.
Scotland rallied, only to see Roy Aitken's equaliser cruelly disallowed. But worse was to come. Charlie Nicholas was about to rue his last-minute inclusion.
Nicholas did well then, and he's got away from Bergeron. Well, he had.
Manager Alex Ferguson has only got one problem. It's a problem he's had all along. Who scores the goals? Paul Sturrock and Charlie Nicholas are both injured, of course. The favourites to take over from them are Frank McAvenny and Steve Archibald.
And I can't keep my mouth shut when he didn't start me. You could tell I wasn't happy, you know, and I told him. And he says, I'm a manager, I pick the team, and I said, and I respect that, but don't expect me to agree with you.
Frank may have been royally aggrieved at Fergie's snub, but on the sidelines, some Machiavellian plans were being hatched by another manager, Graham Souness.
Him and Walter Smith plotting and planning the future of Rangers while on Scotland duty. I'm not suggesting for 1 second they took the eye off the ball in Scotland's campaign, but you know, it was a source of a lot of good stories from my good self out there.
He wanted to change the whole thing about Scottish football, not just Rangers, the Rangers thing, and in respect to, you know, he asked me to, but I signed for Rangers.
He was the second top goal scorer in England that year, and he was, you know, he was quality. He was on fire, and at that time, as we subsequently proved, we were interested in big players.
My family would get involved in because supporters don't understand, and I said no.
Frank would have been a great addition. He certainly would have got goals for us.
Regardless of the off-field shenanigans, Scotland had another game to play. West Germany. A case of mad dogs and Scotsmen go out in the midday sun. Scorch you.
Getting more players into the box. Aiken's getting there.
It was 100 degrees. It was at 7,500 feet.
I've never been as hot in my life. We're all deep fried.
You weren't allowed to take water to the side of the pitch. You weren't allowed to, you know, drink. If there was somebody who was down injured, that wasn't allowed.
You know, Gordon Strachan, who should have in fact a duffel coat to get the heat off him. And of course, Gordon scores the goal.
Here's Strachan. Oh, great goal!
After the foot of Gord had put Scotland ahead, German efficiency soon kicked in, with goals in either half.
And Voller! Voller turns against Neri. And there's a chance, an easy one for Alofs.
So it's very much a curious situation facing the Scots. We've played 2 games and we've lost 2 games. But statistically, we still have a chance of qualifying. So Friday should be an interesting day.
I knew I wasn't playing the last game. What I didn't expect was Fergie not to play Graham Souness.
I've got no argument. I don't look back and think, you know, feel any bitterness towards Fergie over that. I think he was, if I'd been him, I would have done the exact same. But as I said, you know, there's reasons for it. I just wasn't well. I'd got this bug. I couldn't shake it. It didn't allow me to train properly.
Despite the disappointments, that their mood and spirit has been really first class. It makes my job a lot easier.
It's a game I'd like to have played in because, you know, they were a cynical bunch, and maybe in the age I would have been maybe better suited to deal with them.
It had become evident and clearly understood by all the referees that a tactic of Uruguay was to go for the other team's playmaker, the kind of midfield general, immediately, because you don't get into trouble too often in the first seconds of a game, which is true.
Here's Strachan, and bundled over the first free kick of the game. I thought for one moment the referee was going to reach for a yellow card.
So the referee was almost waiting on it happening, and when it happened, he said, right, that's it, boom.
And he's sent off. What an astonishing start to the game. Within the first 60 seconds of the match, Uruguay are down to 10 men.
It was a red card offence, but we didn't anticipate that too many referees would have the bottle to do that in the opening seconds of a World Cup match. But this guy did.
To produce a red card in the first minute of a World Cup match is, well, it must be unprecedented.
We lost a man and they did a organised defensive job on us for the rest of the game, and we just couldn't make a breakthrough.
See what Strachan can do here. Good ball inside the area as well. Aitken drives it across. Oh, it's a marvellous save from Nicol.
He's been good enough to beat 10 men, but you know that's in their nature. That's particularly in these days.
There must surely be a little bit of time added on as Neri hits a screamer. Oh, so close to glory, David Neri. But the whistle has gone. Scotland are out of the World Cup.
It was a sad day for football that they got through, and that the team that we had didn't actually, make it through.
Many of them unable to shake hands with their Uruguayan opponents. So you get the feeling that there isn't a lot of love lost down there.
The whole thing is just a farce, and I think that gets through to players.
Was it your last match as Scotland manager?
Yeah, maybe.
A microphone was stuck in my face and someone said, "What did you think of the match?" I remember clearly saying, "What match?" There was no match played here this afternoon. What you saw out there was the scum of world football. I did not say they were the scum of the earth, as I was accused of saying. I certainly said that, and I meant it sincerely, and I still mean it today. I shouldn't have said it, of course, but c'est la vie.
Bitter disappointment then for Scotland's players.
Another World Cup, another early bath. For Fergie, the end of his short tenure as national coach. For Souness, it was the end of his Scotland career after 54 caps. A chapter was closing for these two men. Yet another exciting, explosive one awaited back home.
We knew there were stirring days ahead, that Scottish football was thundering into a tsunami of absolute headlines, one way or t'other. And indeed, that was the case.